Good evening, everyone. Good late afternoon. Hope you all are doing well. Let's take a look and see what is going on with Bitcoin. All right, this candle, we got back into this pattern basically that we've been in. Looks like we're gonna close within it. So the true question is whether or not we're going to continue filling this out and possibly get the move up. This could also be a swing high, but the market makers might want to make it look that way. So here's the thing. 78,676 is our price point right now. We're having issues around 78,751, which is we were using it as support. Now we're finding it as resistance. Not a great sign, right? So is the bottom in for the week down here? I do believe that the bottom is in for the week. That being said, I don't know if we're going to get up to this high again. This is a very interesting week. All right, let's kind of break it down. I'm going to tell you what my expectations are. Again, it's not going to necessarily follow this. This is just based off of my own market experience as well as liquidity, orders, all of that. So my thought is, because we tested weekly open down at 77,710, we actually breached below it by a tiny bit, right around 77,579, so barely breached it by a little over $100. But my thought is that I don't think we're going to breach this area again. I think that the weekly, by us testing the weekly open and getting a strong rejection off of it, it tells me that the week is going to be bullish off the bat. Okay. That being said, I also don't know, though, if we're going to get up to here. So for right now, kind of my expectation is maybe towards, the end of, could even be towards the end of the week, guys, if not the beginning of next week. But we could get that blow off top that I've been talking about in a few days. If we stay in this pattern, there's a decent chance that we could get that to happen, okay? Again, I'm not willing to short this market. I'm not willing to long at any period of time right now. I mean, I wasn't a long. I actually got out a little bit above break even just because I was positioned pretty heavily and I just didn't want to stay in this because it was looking sketchy, especially because we're fighting 78, 70.51 as resistance. So I actually got out in a slight profit. But I'm kind of sitting on my hands for right now because to me, this is sketchy. So we've been chopping around a lot. Obviously, the 12-hour, looking okay now that we're getting that recovery. We tested the weekly, open. 10-hour looking somewhat decent. So your time frames aren't bad, right? And I believe, is this a bullish 786? Let's see. Yeah, so this pull is a bullish 786. I mean, if it wants to, it can take off. Is it going to? I don't know. The 10-hour looks like it wants to launch. Now, your stochastics are low as well, crossing, so this looks like it wants to launch up. Whether or not it does that is a bigger question. But this is technically a bullish 786 retracement right here. So if it wanted to, because we did test weekly open, it could very well get the move up. This is measuring out at least, gosh, if it is a 10-hour pull, I mean, you're talking 85, 87-ish area, maybe testing yearly open. It could get really explosive if it wanted to. But there should be, and there will be, some telltale signs that we're going to be doing that if it's going to happen. Now, the day that I would expect for this to really explode would probably be on Friday. I believe that there's a couple Fed events. So maybe tomorrow we do another one of these. Maybe we get back up into here, 79K-ish area. And then possibly on Friday, it just explodes up. And I'm talking, when I say explodes up, I mean, I'm talking we're going to probably test potentially 84 to 87 if it's that bullish, okay? So be aware and be mindful of that, especially, like I said, if this is a bullish 786, which it is, from this local low all the way up to here. So I don't know, guys. I'm torn because I can also see the bear case scenario of the rollover. Obviously, they're making this look extremely bearish, but I'm not willing to short this at all. Like, I'm not even close. Goodness, I would have to say that for right now, look for a retracement again. If you didn't get in down here, I had a horrible position, but if you can get in down, maybe if we can get another bullish retracement for a 786, something like this, maybe from this low. Maybe if we can get something down to 77, 78,000. I'm going to be honestly looking for 78,114 to get tested again. If we can get 78,114 tested, I'm going to be interested. I'm going to be interested at 78,000 or 78,114, honestly. If we can get that area tested again, I might open another huge position and just hold it. Because right now, what happened here is we had, the drop into the 786 on a bigger time frame. We got the strong reaction based off of support, right, that we want to see off of the weekly. And so I'm going to wait for one last retracement, right? I'm going to wait for one more to see if we can get back into, and I believe that there is liquidity around 78,000. I'm going to wait and see if we can get into 78,000 territory again. And if we can, I'm probably going to position myself pretty big again and chance it. Because to me, that's going to be your opportunity. Right around here, 78,059. 78,059 to 78,114, retesting this, basically this support line here. So I'm going to wait. I'm going to be patient. I'm going to be good. And I'm going to wait and see if we can get a retest of this support line down here. And if we can, I am going to be in pretty strongly, because this alone, this reaction to weekly open, is telling me that it wants to stay bullish for this week. So I am, now that I look at it on some of the smaller meso time frames, I'm actually more bullish on this. The 10-hour really kind of gave it away with that bullish 786 retracement. So for me, I'm bullish, I have to say. I'm not going to flip bearish until we see, a major shift in market structure. And for right now, it can look as head and shouldery as it wants to, but at the end of the day, it's not. It's basically, it's not rolling over, right? We had multiple chances, especially this. Like, this alone was a perfect head and shoulders, right? We can all see that visually. Had a perfect chance to just take us down, and it didn't. It made another shoulder. People, again, thought it was going to take you down, and it didn't. Now it's making, whatever this is. So could this turn into now an inverted head and shoulders is the question, right? And then come to the upside. Anyways, if we get above 78,751, guys, if we're able to close candles above that on a higher time frame, especially if we get this 15-minute 200 MA cross, you're going to be looking at 80,491 as your next, resistance area. Now, your bearish case, if it's not ready yet, it's going to probably test this 200, this trend line as well, and then fall from there. So right now, the only kind of bearish thing I would say is that you are kind of, I guess, trading outside of this trend line somewhat. You kind of tested it bearishly, but it's still showing strength. So we have to wait and see if we can get back in here. Now, tomorrow, if we can get back in here, right, and get above the 15-minute 200 MA, I have to say that I'm probably going to, again, tell you that this will probably break up. It's going to be very interesting to see, though, because right now we're just dealing in a lot of chop, a lot of range-bound trading, a lot of trading within the 78K area. We can't seem to leave it, right? Whether we go to the upside or the downside, it's just coming back to it. So a lot of, accumulation happening here, I would say. Whether or not, that's going to cause a spillover is a bigger question, or if it's going to cause for us to launch. But for right now, we're kind of range-bound trading, okay? Let's take a real quick look. Your 10-minute, again, about to get that golden cross. So everything looking good, for right now. This, just keep in mind that this drop right here that we had right around, I guess that would be 420. That could have been all that was needed for the 786 retracement down to the 706. I like to see it dig deeper, but, again, keep in mind that could be enough for us to get going, right? And obviously it did get going after that. This somewhat, to me, for right now, represents a diamond. I'm just going to point that out on the 5 minutes. So unless you can break that high, it looks something like this, right? And we know that diamonds do break down, so let's measure that. Where would that take us to, right, if that were to break down? So it's, again, taking us maybe from this pull then. So is it going to go from this pull to this pull and go down to 78,314? That could be another area as a possible entry. That's not really a support line, though. So I'm still going to stick to my guns and say that we're going to probably go to 78,114 at least, or into 78,000, test that critical level. But just keep that in mind, guys. This price action is just insane today. Very difficult trading day. So anyways, let's take a look and see, I'm going to visually try to tell as far as levels go for right now. So obviously 78,751 is going to be your key level to stay above, especially closing candles above that on your bigger time frames, right? Your meso time frames, your bigger micro time frames. It's going to be crucial. And then if you can, and if we can get back into this pattern, basically you're going to be looking at 80,491 as your first level of resistance, getting back into this pattern. If we're able to get up here tomorrow, consolidate through Friday, like I said, you could get that blow off top, and then, I'm honestly picturing us just blasting through 82,429 and more so testing 84 to 87-ish level, somewhere in here, okay? That's going to be your true blow off top if we get that on Friday. And I'm going to double check the Forex Factory as well and make sure that there is, some Fed folders on Friday that align with that narrative. But that's kind of what I'm picturing. The other option obviously is going to be that, maybe we get rejected here and we just roll over the rest of the week. I personally don't see that probability-wise happening as much of a percentage because of the fact that we bullishly tested the weekly open and we weren't really able to fall through it, right? We did drop below it a little bit, but it wasn't anything to really write home about. But that, you see, guys, this is why to me, and why I have these on here, is the daily, the weekly, the monthly, the yearly opens are so incredibly important and used as magnets for price action, right? Like, even if you were to open, your position right at weekly open, thinking that we were going to test it bullishly, I mean, you would have been up, all the way over $1,000, right, off that position, even for right now. These are such amazingly crucial levels. And again, one of the reasons why I'm talking about 87,000 is look up here, 87,624 is your yearly open. So obviously that's going to be a magnet for price. Your measured move takes you to the 86.6 area, but I could only imagine that this could probably reach up here and just test yearly open just for the heck of it and maybe get a strong retracement off of it. So just really be aware of your monthly, your yearly, your weekly opens, especially those three. They are crucial when it comes to price action and support and resistance levels, okay? And where price wants to kind of almost become attracted to, like a magnet, like I said, okay? So anyways, guys, that is what, I'm seeing to the upside, and then obviously to the downside. If you were to get that rollover, you're first going to have to lose 77,710. That's going to be extremely important, followed by, your 76,975, which is your Monday midnight open, and then you can start talking about getting into these order blocks, which again, like I told you guys, I'm targeting, that 74.5 to 75K range, somewhere within the middle of this order block. All right. That being said, let's go ahead and take a dive and take a look at liquidity and see where that's at. So let me go ahead and launch the 4-hour here. All right, so the 4-hour time frame, obviously showing, that we could possibly get down to 75,000 to 74, 700-ish area if it wants to. That would kind of be your, basically your lead down into this area. That would probably give you some sort of a local 786 bounce as well. Thankfully, we don't have anything after that let's see if there's any 10x. Yeah, there's some 10x down below here. So it could come down and really take out the 25 and the 10x if it wanted to. I'm more so thinking it's going to get a bounce off the middle of this pool right here. Let's take a look at the 1 hour. So let's see, the 1 hour. All right, so if you get that continued move up, guys, your next area of potential resistance is going to be right around here on 79.5, it looks like. So 79.5, 79.6, which again, that's the level I've been talking about. That's going to be your bearish 786 retracement. Let's see if I pull from right around here. Let me make sure I have the right bottom. Okay, I do. So yeah, that's right around the 618 there. So it'd have to probably be maybe from here. Yeah. So not to cherry pick, but it does look like it would have to be from this wick right here, 79.667. So 79.5 to 79.6 is going to be your first area of overhead resistance if you are going to continue that move up, okay? Also, that takes out this double top right here. It takes out this, kind of this double top up here. So you'd basically be relying on taking out two different double tops by targeting this area. All right, so first area to the upside and then to the downside. Doesn't look like there's really anything as far as the 50x goes. Yeah, even your 100x is showing that area as, some red liquidity. So there's where a lot of people put their stop losses up there. Now, the 100x does show that there's a bridge all the way down that can reach us to about 77,320. If we zoom in on this, you can basically see, I should say that I thought there were some green areas here. Yeah, you can kind of see it here. So there's some green areas right around 78K, which is exactly where I'm targeting. I'm basically, going to kind of position myself for a potential bounce off of this area right here if I can get that retracement. If not, you're looking at possibly basically this would getting taken out around 77.5. That's also a possibility as well. Not as realistic as we're coming around to the middle end of the week, but definitely could happen. I'm thinking more so that we're going to probably end the week choppy / slowly move up. So my target is going to be 78K if I can get that entry. Probably I'll front run it around 78, probably 78,150 just to front run it. Make sure I get my fill. But if I can get that fill right there, then, I'm basically going to just kind of hold it the remainder of the week. And hopefully, if I would possibly take profit at 79.6, but I'm really going to be looking for that full move, really seeing what, Thursday has to offer to maybe get back in that pattern and get, like I said, that blow off top potentially on Friday. Let's take a look at the 15-minute. We will take a look at the Forex Factory last to see kind of what news events there are. Let's see. So the 15-minute, and again, my setups, never financial advice. I'm going to keep throwing that out there. Never financial advice with this stuff. This is just my future planning and what I'm thinking about when it comes to positioning. Okay, and I try to position myself very strategically, waiting for a drop on liquidity. Taking out previous lows right before I get in. I do not like chasing price at all. Let's see. So taking a look at your 100x, kind of the same sort of situation here. You do have some green liquidity right around 77.5, it looks like. The only time where I see some green is when I zoom in down here. You can see you have some around 78,400-ish area to 78.3. You also have some down to, again, my 78K area I'm targeting. This is more, I would say, realistic because of the fact that this is around a support line. So for me, this is probably going to be a magnet for price if we're going to get back down here. Now, to the upside, guys, you're looking at, there's a potential that we kind of get rejected off of this 79,200-ish area. Again, that it does take out that double top right there. If you can get above it, you're going to, probably able to get to about 79.4 and then to 79.5. So somewhere in here, we could be ultimately rejected. We could even get rejected from here because this is some yellowish liquidity right here. It takes out that double top. So just be aware of that, guys, okay? All right, so, again, some local levels to identify for the night. We're kind of getting overextended here, as in my opinion, with this pump. It'll probably come back down for another 786 retracement. How far it goes is a question. I'm going to be targeting that support line that I've had up for a while now because I know that that is a true support line, and it's been a resistance line as well. So I'm going to target down here for right now. You guys could potentially front run it, target here. This would maybe be a safer bet. It's just be aware that you might have to hold that position down through some of these other pools, okay? And so it might not give you the best risk-reward ratio. Let's take a real quick look at our order book, see what's happening there. So obviously, this is showing us that we could potentially get that move up. This is targeting around 79.5-ish, so that's going to be more so up in this area right around here, getting rejected off of this red order right here. So that's what this is implying, and it is implying that this is going to be strong resistance. You got a couple orders almost in a row within a $200 range. So definitely would act as resistance to the upside. To the downside, you got a single order down here, and look at this, guys, 77,925, 77,930-ish. So you got a single green order down here that's halfway decent in size, right around 77,950, which is right around the 78K level that I've been targeting. So very interesting stuff. That almost gave us a little hint there. They just pulled it. You do have an order around 77.5, which does, give us this, area of liquidity right here. So this does imply it could take this out. There's a few subsequent orders. If you break through that, it could take all the way down to 77 even. So that's kind of where price is targeting to the downside if we were to get that rollover, okay? Let's take a real quick look at our simple map, and then we'll take a look at the Forex Factory. All right, so taking a look at the simple map, let me go ahead and zoom in, see what support and resistance levels we could target. So to the downside, guys, you're going to look for 78,120 down to 77,970 as potential support levels. Again, that's going to be where I'm targeting, right, for a potential entry. If you lose that, though, it does look like you can basically get that spillover to around 77,550. So 77,550 is going to be kind of your true and really solid support level. Again, that is going to take out this local low right here, so it is going to maybe make some bullish divergence if we were to get down there. Again, that's possible. This price action wants to be really annoying and stay within a pretty, kind of a broad range within $1,500. We've mostly been in the 78 to 79K region, but again, it can get into the 77.5-ish area. We dropped into 77,600 earlier today, so just keep that in mind. So that is a potential area of support right there. But if you lose that, you're looking at about 77,220, and then basically a spill off to about 76,590 to 76,470. So it can get real ugly if you don't keep the mid to low 77K-ish range. Now, to the upside, guys, you're looking for your first area to be, it almost looks like around 79,000 even. Then you can get to about 79,230 and crawl your way up to 79,560. Now, if you get above 79,560, which we know is that bearish 786 retracement, then you basically can get that follow through all the way up to about 80,800-ish area. There's really not too much liquidity that would stop you from getting into the 80,000, 8 to 81,000 area right here, okay? So obviously your next kind of biggest support area of resistance would be 81,040, and then you get up into the 81,240, 81,280-ish area, okay? So not too much of a range tonight, I would say. Just kind of keep your capital safe. You could take some scalps here and there, but just be well aware of the type of environment we're in right now, especially because we had such an expansive first part of the week. All right, let's take a look at our swing time frame. Should be about the same. It looks about the same. So 78,120-ish area down to 77,940. Again, that's where I'm looking for my entry. You lose that, you go to 77,550, down to 77,220, and then it gets real ugly if you lose that point. To the upside, guys, you're looking at 79,230 to 79,560 as your first areas of overhead resistance, followed by 80,200-ish area, and then to, again, getting that rollover to 80,880 to 81,000 even. All right, let's take a real quick look at the Forex Factory, see what we have for the rest of the week, and then we will go from there. So tomorrow, you got unemployment claims tomorrow. It is an orange folder. It can cause a little bit of impact, but it shouldn't be a lot. I don't give too much weight into this, so keep in mind that there might not be a lot of action tomorrow. You also have the Jackson Hole Symposium, so that can be halfway decent. I think it's going to be bigger on Friday. But look at this, guys. On Friday, look at 7 a.m. Look at this. Chairman Warsh speaks. Preliminary benchmark payrolls revision, right? And then you have Jackson Hole Symposium, and it's a red folder this time, all right? So all of these happening at 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time tomorrow. Or sorry, not tomorrow, Friday. So keep that in mind that we have a lot of events on Friday. I'm not expecting for price to do too much tomorrow, and if it does, if we do get the pump up through the night to tomorrow, this could reverse price. I'm just going to warn you. I want to see Thursday not do too much. If we enter back into the range, that's fine as long as we chop out. It's okay if we pump a little bit tonight, like I said, get back into the range. But I do not want to see us lifting off into the 80K range tomorrow. Because if we do, that does tell me that there's a decent chance that this could potentially reverse price on Friday. Even maybe testing back, down to weekly open or even lower than that. I do think the bottom is in for right now, but I just wanted to kind of set the precedence that I do not want to see Thursday take off. I do not. Okay. That being said, that is what I have for you for this evening, guys. Again, trade safely tonight. It's been a very, very rough end of the week here. There's a lot of chop, not a lot of opportunity. Very tight ranges within $1,000 range. So stay safe out there. There's going to be more fun to come, I promise. We just have to be patient for it. We were patient for this previous move. We had a lot of fun this past week and a half with basically catching that uptrend and getting a lot of very profitable moves off of it. So that being said, guys, as usual, if you guys want to use Trading Different and its tool set, feel free to use my code Sean. You'll get 10% off your order. TradingDifferent.com/code/Sean to get 10% off your order and gain access to all of these amazing tools through Trading Different. All right, guys, that is what I have for you for this evening. I will be back tomorrow morning. I hope you all have a wonderful evening, and I will talk to you all later. Take care.